He asks, "You said that IQ decreased prior to contraception and that easier ecologies prompted decline. Can you reiterate?"
Yes, the IQ decline would have started not with the advent of contraception. Contraception was just an accelerator, it increased the rate of the IQ decline. But prior to that, you have increasing global temperature means and decreasing variance of global temperatures, which means that you have lower levels of extrinsic, that is, uncontrollable morbidity and mortality. Now, who is more vulnerable in the population to extrinsic morbidity and mortality? People with low IQ, socially vulnerable people, not people with high IQ who can resist these things and control these uncontrolled factors. The people who have problems dealing with this are people with low ability. People who can't inceptively niche construct and regulate their environments, as well as people with high ability can. So the mediating factor is group selection. So, the colder climates encourage group selection because you have ecological scarcity and unpredictability, which causes groups to expand into more clement environments where you have more reliable and predictable resources. This is why you have northern populations living in unforgiving environments expanding into southern, more temperate environments, so they can take those more plentiful and more abundant resources. You know, tea from India, coffee from China, opioids from China. People don't know this, but there was actually a mini ice age that peaked in the 1600s called the Maunder Minimum, which was caused by severely reduced sunspot activity. This would have made agriculture harder in Northern Europe. Farming would have become less efficient, making other enterprises such as raiding more attractive. And this agitation is like fuel for intergroup competition. Indeed, Viking raids remilitarized Europe, which had become somewhat pacified under Christianity. There does seem to be this cascading effect of a cooling climate, which keeps groups bumping into one another. The other thing about group selection is, of course, it puts populations under stress. So groups tend to be very beastly to one another, particularly conquering groups to the conquered group in which you usually have high levels of mortality. Who's more likely to die in intergroup conflict? Again, it's going to be people with lower intelligence.
But then, why is it that once that pressure is reduced, then they seem to develop contraception?
Well, contraception is not something that all high IQ populations who suffered dysgenic catastrophes have had. And in the case of some populations which have undergone historical decline, such as the Greeks, there was no contraception. There was just a desire to not have children, which was satiated by simply avoiding having children using other means. They didn't have prophylactics, they didn't have vulcanized rubber, they didn't have any of the things to produce reliable contraception. They might have used rhythm methods, they might have engaged in non-procreative sexual acts. They found alternative ways of having sex without having offspring.
Why is it that higher temperatures seem to manifest in people not wanting to have babies?
Well, basically, if you have mild ecologies, and you have ecologies in which the mortality is generally lower, so in other words, all babies born are likely to survive, rather than most babies born don't survive. As was the case historically in Europe, where you had infant and child mortality rates of 50–60% in some cases, we have good data on France. We have good data on Sweden. From the 17th, basically, the 16th and 17th centuries for infant and child mortality.